apparently UC San Diego is the greatest 12 seed in the history of the March Madness tournament.
I've got Vanderbilt over St. Mary's.
We got to believe it. We're the #1 overall seed.
And my biggest upset.
So here's what I need from each of you. We're going to go region by region. I'm going to ask you what stands out the most to you in that region. I'm going to ask for your biggest round 1 upset, and then I need to know who makes the Final Four out of that region. And I will start with myself. All George Washington this thing. Let's start in the South. To me, I'll go back to what I said earlier. Louisville, and we have it up on the screen right here. You got Auburn as the 1, the winner of Alabama State, St. Francis as the 16. Louisville plays Creighton in the 8-9. Michigan plays UC San Diego in the 5-12. A&M plays Yale in the 4-13. Ole Miss going to play the winner of North Carolina, San Diego State. Iowa State will play Lipscomb. Marquette will play New Mexico. And Michigan State will play Bryant. It's New Mexico, not New Mexico State. On 3, got that one wrong. But look, New Mexico's a pretty good team. Going to get to that. Here's what stands out to me the most. Louisville as the 8 seed. And this isn't a, cry for Auburn thing. I'm done with that. Auburn, I think, is better than Louisville. I think they're better than Creighton. I think Louisville got screwed, even though you put them in Kentucky, right, which is an hour drive where they're going to be playing in Lexington to Louisville, I believe. Somebody fact check me if I'm wrong on that. I'm not a Google Maps person at the end of the day. But to me, if I'm Coach Kelsey in Louisville, I mean, damn, dog. You look at all the projections, they were a 6 seed.
Makes no sense.
Look where they finished in the ACC, and then look what they did in the ACC tournament.
Well, where did they put Clemson at? They put Clemson at a 5 seed. And if you looked at the metrics from Louisville to Clemson, Louisville beats them in every single metric, has more quad 1 wins, and has beat Clemson twice.
And if we're going to talk about injuries, you just had the Hunter kid, the brother hurt for Clemson.
Broke his
the thing that kept West Virginia out. I mean, he's going to be out for the whole tournament. So to me, when I look at Louisville at the 8, I think they did Louisville a disservice because now you got to play Auburn. I don't care where it is. If you beat Creighton, and Creighton's pretty damn good too. Coney, what stood out to you the most?
Well, that too. I mean, at the time, I think was Louisville ranked 13th at the time,
yes,
or were they already 10th?
I think they were top 10. I think
the new AP
team.
was 10th, and it was something like the lowest seed in the last 10 years for a team that was ranked that high, something like that. So yeah, that was surprising. Also, Michigan. I mean, I watched Michigan roll through the Big Ten tournament this weekend, and they got a 5 seed. Clearly, the committee is not taking into account what happens on Championship Sunday. They said they took the final vote on Saturday. But again, Michigan fans, let it go. Stop worrying about that. I get it that you thought you were locked in for a 4 seed, maybe even a 3 seed after winning the tournament. But now it's on to March. Like, let's go ahead. Dusty May, first Big Ten coach to win the tournament, the conference tournament, in his first year. Move on. Let's move forward and let's make a real run at this thing. So for Auburn, I did want to ask you guys this because you were hot and bothered about Auburn having to possibly play Louisville in the second round in the state of Kentucky. Is that what you?
Yeah, and it pisses me off. Auburn's the #1 overall seed. You shouldn't have to walk into a team that shouldn't be an 8 seed, basically playing a home game in your second round for being the #1 overall seed. There's plenty of other things you can look at in the bracket. Like Alabama's path is 1,000 times easier than Auburn's. And it's almost like you got punished. You got punished for being the #1 overall seed, going to play a team that got seeded incorrectly in Louisville, basically in Lexington. And I know Auburn travels, and I know they sell seats 50-50, but it's hell of a lot easier to get to a game in Lexington if you're a Louisville fan than Auburn to go all the way up there and get their fans to travel. So I thought that was absolute crap, in my opinion. And it also pissed me off that they put Yale in our side because now it just feels like they're being vindictive.
Well, they're giving you a chance at revenge. Like, is this a situation where you're just going to complain on any basketball game you got to play? At some point, you got to play tough teams.
No, that's
what
not
other
what I'm
8-9 would you want to play?
That's not what I'm doing at all.
If they put the UConn,
if they put the
UConn,
seed,
Oklahoma 8-9.
How did they punish Auburn? Like, what do you mean they're punished? Here's the other 8-9 games. Mississippi State and Baylor. I don't want to play another SEC team in the second round. I know Bama fans are pissed because Vandy's going to beat St. Mary's and Alabama's going to have to play Vandy in the second round. Then you look at the other 8-9. UConn or Oklahoma, I want no part of UConn in the second round. I want no part of Liam McNeely. I want no part of Terrence Reed Jr. because they're probably going to beat Oklahoma. Then you look at the last 8-9 down here. And to me, Georgia-Gonzaga, I don't want any part of Gonzaga in the second round. We beat Georgia by 3. I know it was on the road and then murdered them at home. I don't want to play an SEC team in the second round.
Do you think Louisville and Creighton are just washed?
No, but I think Auburn matching up against a team that they have not played 3 freaking times is a pretty good situation. Louisville is not better than Auburn. Janai Broome should murder Louisville if they play him. Creighton, if Papa Isaacs was playing, I'm right there with you. But he's not. He's hurt. He missed the whole year. They're going to put Denver Jones on Ashworth. He's going to shut him down. And Colt Britter is not athletic enough to run around with the
We already gone over that
has.
Louisville's incorrectly seeded.
Yeah, I
They
do
should be a
agree
higher
that
seed,
Louisville's, but
correct.
I'm not scared
Right
of
now,
Louisville.
I mean, from a KenPom standpoint, they're a top 15 team.
I'm not scared of Louisville.
They're top 30 in offense and defense, and you're going to play them in Lexington. Does that seem like that should happen to you?
I would rather play Louisville than Mississippi State. I would rather play Louisville than have to play Georgia again. I would rather play Louisville than have to play UConn or watch Fears go nuts against Auburn because Auburn's already beat them twice. They've beat Georgia twice. They beat Mississippi State once. I don't want to have to play the same team 3 times. That they have the scout. Give me Louisville, give me Creighton. And then as far as Michigan goes, Coney, that matchup with UC San Diego is not a walk in the park.
Well, apparently UC San Diego is the greatest 12 seed in the history of the March Madness tournament, and that they've already won that. So, yeah, I might as well pick that as my biggest upset. I picked against Michigan in the Big Ten tournament, and that worked out pretty well.
Well, the spread on that game is 2.5 to Michigan.
Yeah.
That shocked me. But if you look at UC San Diego and you talk about the style they play, they shoot a ton of threes, they make a lot of threes, and Tate Johnson, they're 6'6", he's really an all-everything guy. He leads them in points, he leads them in rebounds, he leads them in assists, he leads them in blocks. He is a fantastic player, but I like Michigan's size there. Looking down in the bottom of the bracket here, my upset, I've got New Mexico beating Marquette. Okay. I've got New Mexico beating Marquette because to me, I love Cam Jones at Marquette, but when I look at New Mexico, and last year they let me down. They let me down with all those NBA players' kids, but Donovan Dent is an absolute problem at guard. If you have not heard about him, you're going to see him. I think New Mexico wins in a shootout in that game. Blaine, what is your biggest upset right now?
Well, I also have New Mexico beating Marquette. Just from a rebounding standpoint, New Mexico is one of the best in the country. I'm really looking at this Yale-Texas A&M game.
You think Yale can do it twice in a row,
You usually don't, but both these teams are somewhat the same. What worries me about Texas A&M is they're one of the worst shooting teams in the country, right? Are they one of the best offensive rebounding teams in the country? Yes, they are actually the best. But from a scoring output, I don't know how much I trust Texas A&M. Yale also, this is not the same team from last year. Danny Wolf's now walking around. You still have one big who's pretty good.
Townsend's.
Yeah, but they have perimeter guys who can shoot it. And if Texas A&M puts on a poor shooting performance, I can see Yale winning this basketball game.
One question before we move off the South region. If Auburn and Michigan meet up in the Sweet 16, are we or are we not live streaming that match?
We have to live stream it.
We can get fired. That's okay if we can live stream it. That's fine. I'm just telling you, I'm going to be an emotional wreck. I barely made it through the Ole Miss game when we were live streaming the SEC tournament. And that's fine. I would rather see Michigan than A&M.
I don't think enough people are talking about Ole Miss.
I agree with that.
First of all, shout out Chris Beard. I mean, from a coaching standpoint, they got one of the best staffs in the country. A San Diego State team that is down, a North Carolina team that is down, an Iowa State team whose best player, Gilbert, is hurt. I think they still beat Lipscomb. But Ole Miss can find themselves maybe walking into a Sweet 16.
I got them there.
I like San Diego State to beat North Carolina because at the end of the day, no matter the talent you put on the court, San Diego State's going to be able to what? They're going to play defense. They're going to be solid in defense. So I like that. Ole Miss has the players to make a little bit of a run.
If Ole Miss can just rebound, be even rebounding, and let Padula and them eat. I've got Ole Miss, Coney, in the Sweet 16, but I've got Auburn beating Michigan State in the Elite Eight to go to the Final Four out of that region. Who do you have?
Out of this whole region, I'm going to go with the Auburn Tigers.
Oh, God.
Go with the Auburn Tigers.
Let's go ahead and just give him the kiss of death. Do it.
I'm going with Auburn.
Okay. You're not scared anymore.
I'm not scared. I ain't gays no more.
Okay.
All right. We got to believe it. We're the #1 overall seed.
Thank you.
I'm sick of walking into stuff being worried about teams we shouldn't be worried about. All right. The only team that can beat Auburn is Auburn. And I watch
Florida.
Or Florida. I'll give you that. CBM needs to relax. Relax, buddy. I'm sick of it. You're 30 years old. Janai, you're great, man. You're great.
Keep doing what you're doing.
Keep doing what you're doing. We got to make free throws, dog.
Yeah.
You got to make free throws. So I'm going with the Auburn Tigers.
All right, let's move to the West. Coney,
yes.
I want to start with you. What stands out to you the most?
What stands out the most to me is that this is the toughest region. And I think Florida is going to be my horse this year. I really like the way this Florida team plays for a couple of reasons. On a lot of basketball teams, you have some guys who are really good at offense. You have some guys who are really good at defense. The thing I like about Florida's starting five, those guys are great two-way players, really just across the board.
They're like Noah's Ark. They got two of everything.
I like that. But then also, look at this matchup we get in the 7-10 with Kansas and Arkansas. Bill Self and Calipari. Yep. I can't wait for that. A couple other things. This Oklahoma-UConn matchup in the 8-9. Again, that's why I was asking, like, hey, if Auburn was matched up to play the winner of that game, you'd either be playing an Oklahoma team, which I think plays really solid basketball, or the two-time defending champs. Again, I think that, and Memphis, I want to ask you guys about Memphis and Colorado State, and I think Maryland's going to be a tough out in this tournament.
Well, I think, quickly, I think Oklahoma is not a 9 seed. I think they.
You think they should be better than 9 seed?
No, worse. I think they should be worse than 9 seed.
You think they should be playing like Texas?
Almost, yeah.
Do you have Oklahoma beating UConn?
No, I do not. UConn, as down as they are, they do lead the country in block shots.
Well, Terrace Reed down low, that's Oklahoma's problem. They got this one white guy that's okay down there. Outside of that, the guards have to play outstanding. David, you bring up Colorado State. Another crazy spread that I saw. Colorado State is a favorite over Memphis in the sports books. I think a 3.5-point favorite. If you haven't seen the guard they have, Clifford, you're about to see him. He is an absolute walking bucket, and they play really, really clean offensively. They don't turn the ball over a lot. But to me, kind of back to your point, Coney, that bottom four right there are really 3 out of the 4. I love the storylines here.
And St. John's, we got to talk about
Dude, what Rick Pitino's done there, it's Queens is lit up again. St. John's is really good. Offensively, the shooting can come and go. They're kind of a better version of Texas A&M to me. But the Kansas-Arkansas matchup, you look at Kansas, underperformed this year when you compare it to what Bill Self has done his whole career. They still make the tournament, and they get to play John Calipari in Arkansas, who started off 0-5 in SEC play. Apparently, Boogie Fland is going to be able to come back and play in this, which, to me, they played better when he got hurt. Now, I'm not saying you keep an NBA player off the floor, but that second-round matchup, whether it's Kansas versus St. John's or Arkansas versus St. John's, especially if it's Arkansas versus St. John's, is going to be an absolute fist fight. So that's what I can.
I'm really looking at that 4 seed in Maryland in the Crab 5. I think Queen, Reese, Gillespie, their starting 5 right now is an absolute problem. I think they might run into a little problem later in the tournament when it comes to depth, but I think Maryland can actually really go on a run this year. And I think Derek Queen's one of the best players in college basketball.
And what Florida's going to do to Norfolk State? They're a 28.
Florida's good, man. I mean, they're just so balanced. What about Texas Tech in the bottom half of this? Do you think they can make the Elite Eight from the bottom half of this? Because I'm big on St. John's still.
Look, I know we got a lot of Texas Tech fans that watch this show. I think you're going to beat UNC Wilmington, but I'm telling you right now, fellas, Missouri's going to the Elite Eight. Missouri's going to beat Texas Tech.
A lot of people are picking Drake to beat Missouri.
That's fine.
So that means you have Missouri beating Texas Tech, and you have them beating who? St. John's?
I got Missouri beating Texas Tech. And I got Missouri beating St. John's.
What makes you pick that?
Well, I think Missouri's being slept on a little bit because, we talk about the year that Dennis Gates had, their shooting ability from everywhere. But I think the Mitchell kid down low is a really, really, really solid player, the Duke transfer. But you look at Caleb Grill, you look at Bates, you look at the guy, Pierce, who looks like a big, but he plays guard and he can shoot and make the threes. Missouri, if they get hot, can beat just about anybody. I don't think they're being talked about enough. They're going to hear how good Drake is. Oh, we've heard this the last 2 years with Drake in the first round, too. They haven't won a damn game yet. So I'm going to ride with Missouri to the Elite Eight. And shocker, I got Florida beating Missouri to go to the Final Four.
Well, at least Drake made the tournament. Lamar didn't make the tournament, so that should end.
Colorado State not like us, Dave.
Any rap beef is over.
And I got Colorado State beating Memphis as my upset.
Okay, yeah, I got Arkansas over Kansas.
Okay.
And quite possibly Oklahoma over UConn. I'm still fiddling with some things.
Really?
What about you? Got Florida coming out?
Yes.
Yeah, smart.
I got Arkansas over Kansas. I think this is a real opportunity to John Calipari make a little bit of a run.
Yeah, kind of
throw it in somebody's face a little bit. Because they were doubted heavily, and the way they started the year was not great. So we'll see. I do like Arkansas over Kansas. Obviously, I have Florida coming out of this bracket, and I don't know if any game they play will be close. But, man, that firepower for that bottom of the bracket, Bill Self, Calipari, the Godfather.
It's heavy.
Poor Omaha.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for showing up.
In baseball.
Go beat on that trash can to get your ass back on the bus. It wouldn't surprise me at all if you wanted to upgrade your business. Well, I'll tell you who you need to use. Our friends over at Shopify. You can get the same checkout that companies like Gymshark and Cotopaxi use with Shopify. And you can sign up for a $1 per month trial period right now at shopify.com/CRAIN. That's all lowercase. That's shopify.com/CRAIN. Go ahead and hit that button real quick, David. When you hear that, you know you made another sale. And as far as business goes, A lot of times you want to make the main thing the main thing, whether you're starting a podcast, whether you're selling shoes, whether you're in crypto or whatever your business is. Most of the time, what powers the business is the business behind the business. And that's where our friends over at Shopify can make the biggest change. So again, like I said, if you're serious about growing your business, you need to be everywhere your customers are, whether they're scrolling through their phone, scrolling past the storefront, web, social feeds, and physical stores, you name it. That's why businesses that sell more sell on Shopify. So go to shopify.com/CRAIN. Hit that button just one more time for me, David. So if you don't win money in your bracket challenge, you can make money and save money when you use Shopify. Let's go to the East region here. Let's pull up the East. The one there is Duke. Bama is the two. So Duke and Bama, I got a collision course. I've got Duke coming out of this thing. Shocker, shocker.
You do?
Yeah, I do. My biggest upset is I've got Vanderbilt over St. Mary's. I love Vandy as a dog. I know St. Mary's plays slow, but I think Vandy can actually dictate the pace here. And you look at McLaughlin, some of the undersized guys carry down low. They play bigger than what they are. But what stood out to me the most about this region is, guys, I'm looking at Duke's second round game. And to me, I think Mississippi State is a bigger problem than Baylor, even though I love me some Rob Wright. I don't think he gets talked about enough because of Cooper Flagg's health. If Cooper Flagg can't come back for the first two rounds, the second round especially, and they run up against Mississippi State and Hubbard's able to hit some shots, the physicality of Mississippi State down low, I think, can hang with Duke. And Cooper Flagg, and you heard John Shire talk about this, his defensive presence is just as big as his offensive presence. So when you look at the Mississippi State big man, if they can get by Baylor, Keyshawn Murphy down low, I think he can hang with Malawatch. You look at Cam Matthews, who's a big guard that can bully around. I think if Hubbard can shoot well, I think Mississippi State could hang with Duke in the second round. Not beat them, but hang with them and scare them, especially if Cooper Flagg doesn't play in this game.
I think Cooper is going to play in the first game.
You think he's going to play in the first one?
I think
that's what Coach Shire said.
I think he's going to play.
Should you sit him, though? Should you sit him in the first game?
You just won the ACC tournament with that.
I think you play him a little bit.
I know you can't take anything for granted. I'm not saying that. Sure. I know you got a 116 matchup, but my thing on this is that Duke. I just saw Duke win the ACC tournament championship and beat Louisville by double digits. They beat them by 11 without Cooper Flagg, and you beat your in-state rival North Carolina. Say what you will about how down they are for the third time in a season. That's always tough. Mm-hmm. Do you sit him in the first round and say, hey, that's 2 extra days of rest he would get?
I think they could roll their managers out there in the first game and win.
I think if it feels good, you put him out there for a little bit.
Yeah, if he's 100%.
Right, yeah.
I mean, like, if there's something I don't know.
Get back to the swing of things. Like, sometimes it's throwing a guy out there.
I just mean if you're on the fence or not. Like, of course, if he's 100% and it's not as bad as we thought, yeah, okay. But if it's on the fence or not, whether you should play him.
If it's anywhere near the fence, I don't care if you're sitting down on the good side of the fence. I'm not playing Cooper Flagg in this first game. Now, you have him ready to play. God forbid craziness happens. And you're down at halftime for some reason, you got to bring him out, okay. But I see no reason for Duke to have to play him in this first-round game. Get him right for the second-round game. Then if you win that second-round game, I'm just telling you, even if it's Baylor, I don't think Baylor is as physical down low as Mississippi State is, which is weird to say about Baylor. But that second-round game, to me, I think it could be more interesting. If Duke shoots the way they shot against Georgia Tech, it could be really, really interesting.
I love Alabama's path. I really do. You're going to absolutely destroy Robert Morris. Vanderbilt could somewhat give you a little bit of a problem. If you play St. Mary's with what they do, they're really good at it. But once they face somebody who's really athletic and the pace that Alabama has, they will absolutely run through St. Mary's. And then you look above, I think the BYU-VCU game is extremely interesting.
Yeah.
One of the most interesting first-round games. I think BYU actually might be a dog. VCU might be favorited. But I like Bama versus all 4 of those teams right there. Nothing really scares me if you're Alabama. The one game I'm looking at, okay, is the 12-5. And that is Liberty versus Oregon.
Yeah, a lot of people hot on that.
You have to know who you're playing in the style of matchup you're playing. Liberty is one of those teams. They shoot extremely well from the outside. They're pretty damn good at 2. They're not the biggest team, but they absolutely dump your pace. They want to slow the game down for both halves. And Oregon I wouldn't say Oregon's one of those teams who's really good at one thing. They're a very balanced basketball team. They're very hit or miss. They have Biddle, their 7-footer.
Yeah, they've been inconsistent.
Yeah,
House is nice, but they've been.
And they had Stott at point guard, who's pretty good too.
Bamba's a good piece.
Right, but Liberty, the way they play, That's the 12-5 I'm looking at, and I'm really liking Liberty.
Well, I've watched Alabama play as much as I've watched any team in the country, and we talk about old guards all the time when it comes to March, and they have one of the best in the country in Mark Sears. But a little bit of injury issues with Alabama is too, with Grant Nelson. So I haven't decided if I'm going to have Alabama or Duke or maybe even another team come out of this bracket just yet. I want to see if there's any update on Grant Nelson's health. But as far as Duke, and for people who may not have watched Duke a lot this year, it's not just the Cooper Flag show.
Okay.
Again, this team, the way they just ran through the ACC tournament, which I think it was great to be able to get two games dialed in without Cooper Flag, to be able to adjust in case you have to go a game or two, or for most of the tournament without him, because I still think Duke has Elite Eight or Final Four potential even without Cooper Flag. I did want to talk about the BYU-VCU game. I love this BYU team. I would love to see a BYU-Alabama Sweet 16. That could be a lot of fun. In terms of my round one upset, though, I have Vanderbilt over St. Mary's.
I'm in the exact same boat with you.
Well, another thing, I want to give a shout out, and I don't think he's getting really enough credit for what he's. I mean, John Shire. I mean, what he's done with this group, I don't think he's getting talked about enough. I know you have Cooper Flag.
Yeah,
but the way this
you're
team
at Duke, though. It's
the way this team is built, I mean, you have young players, you have transfers, you got some older guards. The way they've meshed, and I feel like Duke has gotten better throughout the year to where Duke might be peaking at the right time, and you can't blame Duke for the ACC being down. Duke has shown against the best teams, whether it was at Duke, they beat Auburn, they've beat, I don't know, they have 7 quad one wins, so they've shown that they're good enough. But John Shire just being that coach and putting that team walking in the number 1 seed, I don't think he gets enough credit.
I think a BYU-Wisconsin second-round matchup would be awesome. I'm with you. I got Vandy as my biggest upset in that one. I have Duke coming out in the Final Four. Coney, you said you're still working on yours?
Yeah, I'm still working on mine for the East.
I have Duke coming out.
You have Duke coming out. All right, let's go to the last region here. Then we're going to get to the chat. Coney, the phone lines are open right now.
Phone lines open, 1-855-236-3228. Hot Take Hotline. Boy, I can't wait to hear from maybe some North Carolina fans today, maybe West Virginia.
God, I would love to hear from
maybe some Auburn fans.
Anybody, anywhere. All right, Midwest region where Houston is the 1 seed. Guys, the thing that stuck out to me the most about this one is I love Tennessee's path to the Final Four. I think it's fantastic. You play a Wofford team, you talk about dumping pace. They're like 333rd in pace, but it's not going to matter. I think Tennessee is going to bully them. Tennessee, when you look at their pace, they don't mind playing a slow pace. Then you're either getting UCLA or Utah State in the second round. I've got UCLA sneaking by Utah State, Tennessee beating UCLA. Then I have Tennessee beating Kentucky.
So you have Kentucky, Tennessee in the Sweet 16.
I've got Kentucky and Tennessee in the Sweet 16.
Which Kentucky beat Tennessee twice this year in their 2 matchups.
3 times. This one's gonna matter.
So that's why you have Tennessee in this one? Okay.
Yep, I've got Tennessee playing Houston. And guys, I've got Tennessee beating Houston to go to the Final Four. I think Tennessee is a great matchup for Houston, the style that they play, the physicality. I think Tennessee is better offensively overall than what Houston is. And my biggest upset, High Point will beat Purdue.
Really?
They're sitting your granddaddy's Purdue. They don't have some monster sitting down there like Zach Edey. The guards are small. I love Braden Smith. He's a great story, but so is Hansel and Gretel, and we all know what happened in the end of that one. Not a lot of people are talking about High Point. They're going to play a really fast pace. I think they can hang with Purdue. I got High Point beating Purdue and then losing to Clemson in the second round.
So, do you have Tennessee and Houston in the Elite Eight?
I've got Tennessee and Houston in the Elite Eight.
Give me the under in that game.
Houston.
Give me the under.
And I'll go ahead and tell you, I got Tennessee beating Duke.
Well, it's Houston is like Tennessee. Houston's like 7% better at what Tennessee is, and they're basically the same team.
Are they though?
They're basically the same team.
Are they?
I think so. I think Houston.
They're 7% better.
I think Houston's just
offensively?
a better version of Tennessee.
There are a lot of similarities.
No, I'm not saying they're not similar, but offensively, like you would take Houston over Tennessee. I'm taking Chaz Lanier.
Yeah.
I'm taking Zakai
I can see what
I'm
you're
taking
saying.
Jordan Gainey. I'm even taking that big thing they got from Transylvania.
But how
You know,
about
we got more
Kelvin
fouls in the
Sampson,
SEC
man?
tournament.
How about Kelvin Sampson?
Oh, Kelvin's
He hasn't built a basketball team. He's built a culture. I swear, every time that comes around, and this time, Houston is sitting there. Y'all want to know my sleeper in this bracket? Who I got going to the Sweet 16?
Can I guess?
Yeah.
Georgia.
Texas.
Really?
I got Texas going. Let's be honest. We already talked about Xavier, how we didn't think they should be in.
Yeah.
I think Texas wins that game.
I love
and
the over there.
If you've watched Illinois play basketball this year, right, they're so hit or miss.
Don't trust.
Right? And they're not super athletic. They have one European who goes off every 3 days. Other than that, I mean, Texas still has Trey Johnson, who's a lottery pick, right? They still have guys who are extremely athletic. If you look at the teams they're playing, I can see a Texas beating a beat-up Kentucky team. A beat up, and a shout out to Mark Pope for getting Kentucky to the 3 seed. Lamont Butler's supposed to come back, which is
That's
phenomenal
huge
from a
for them
defensive
defensively.
standpoint. But you're still missing 2 pieces. I can see a Texas team beating Kentucky. So right now, my sleeper in the Midwest is Texas.
I'll tell you
what's
what,
your-
I
what's your
think that
biggest
Texas Xavier game is going to be the best of the 4
I agree
play-in
with you.
games. And I think if Texas comes out of that, it will be because of Trey Johnson, because he's just that skilled offensively. What were you going to say?
No, I agree with you. I was going to say after we get done with this, we need to talk about this McNeese Clemson game.
Okay, I'm gonna bring that one up because a couple things here. I'm leaning towards Utah State as
Yeah,
my round
that's not
1
crazy.
upset in the 10-7 over UCLA. I'm also leaning Tennessee to make it out of this, but there's a lot about Houston that I like. Again, what I like about Houston, I also like about Tennessee when we're talking about the type of defense you play when it comes tournament time. A couple other things here. I did want to ask you guys about the Georgia-Gonzaga 8-9 game, but why don't we go ahead and start with the Clemson-McNeese 12-5 game, because there's so much to like about this Clemson team, and I think they're the last team to beat Duke in the regular season, and they would be able to match up with Houston. That could possibly be the Sweet 16 game.
They still got a lot of experienced guys who made that run last year. Remember, Clemson made that great run in the NCAA tournament. Everybody talked about NC State. I get it. But Clemson made a good run, too. I mean, Shefflin's back. I know they lost a couple pieces. I know one of the Hunter brothers is hurt, but Chase isn't. I really like the DNA of this Clemson team. And look, McNeese, I got a ton of respect for Will Wade. I think he's about to get an even bigger job. The McNeese State trainer, manager, whatever, didn't he get the
NIL deal.
Oh, yeah.
Like Buffalo.
Hold on one second. I have an update on that. That's Amir Khan, first student manager to sign an NIL deal, and it's with TickPick, Buffalo Wild Wings, and Insomnia Cookies.
Yeah.
That's like the trifecta.
No,
right there.
that's that sounds like a Friday night. But no, I think McNeese just offensively is too challenged to be able to beat Clemson. It could be a close game.
7.5 point spread.
It's a 7.5 point spread. But that Gonzaga-Georgia game.
And people need
y'all
to know
having-
about this Gonzaga. Gonzaga is like a top 10 on KenPom. Like, they got some NBA talent walking around in that middle school gym that they play.
Nimhard, Nolan Hickman's got to play better. But I'm telling you, don't sleep on Georgia. I love Georgia plus 6.5. I know we're going to get to
Shout
that
out Mike
in a
White.
minute. But this Georgia team, you look at the front court, they're pretty deep. I would not be surprised at all. At all. I've got Gonzaga winning that one in a very close game, but I would not be shocked at all if Georgia wins that and goes on to play Houston and then goes home and they get ready for baseball season, which they're ranked top 4 right now. But I've got Tennessee guys coming out of that region. Who you got?
I'm leaning Tennessee.
You're leaning Tennessee. What about you?
Give me Kelvin Sampson. Give me
Houston.
Houston. Them junkyard dogs.
Would not surprise me at all. Hey, YouTube, appreciate you guys hopping on. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Turn that notification bell on so you know when Crain and Company goes to college or Locker Room Talk is dropping.